And I'm back to the fundamentals, back to my roots of how I started in 2010, picking up a brush, going to the studio every day. I'm hungrier than ever. Art is very abstract in the sense you don't really know where it could bring you. That's where I kind of got the spark and said, you know what, I think I could run with these guys and do really what I love and what I want to do. That's where you really create. You just learn as you go, really. Every 4 years it gets tougher and tougher. And you know, it's going to be 16 years that the youth have not seen Italy in a World Cup.
Our guest is none other than Antoine Tava. This is a Montreal-based multidisciplinary artist and creator of the iconic Ludo Fox character and Screaming Hearts, and they have all kinds of stories because I know this gentleman for quite a long time, from watching him do murals outside of my window to him actually doing an image, football image, that hangs at one of our pubs. Tava has collaborated with global brands and figures including Nike, Adidas, Sephora, Dwyane Wade, while exhibiting and painting internationally across China, South Korea, Hong Kong, and Miami and beyond. T-Man, it is so good to have you in here. We're finally getting to jam on air. How are you?
Thanks for having me on.
I want to talk to you a little bit about art. I want to talk to you about fashion. I want to talk business. I want to talk about football. But I want to get a little bit of your background first.
Absolutely. So let's start with the fundamentals. I grew up in Villemard in the southwest of Montreal. Italian parents. They immigrated here. My mom in 65, my father in 79, a little bit later. I'm at the stage where I'm a multidisciplinary artist.
Yeah.
Working on my craft.
Yeah, working on that craft.
I'm working on my craft, man.
Very well, I might add.
Yeah, can't complain, having fun,
Yeah.
and always developing, creating new stuff,
Yeah.
and really enjoying myself.
When did football come into your life? You said your parents immigrated. Where did they immigrate from?
Yeah, so both of my parents, sorry to interrupt, both of my parents are from a small town called Peschici in the Gargano and the Puglia area of Italy, and that's where they grew up and were raised. And then when they moved to Canada, they moved to Montreal.
Yeah,
I think football is just really part of our DNA. You know, I remember like growing up, going with my pops to the local bar in the hood and watching the national team play on a 16-inch screen, right, on the TV. And the kids are just there inhaling cigarette smoke and
crazy,
and
right?
Drinking espressos at 11 years old.
So your obviously your dad was into football. Did he ever have a football, like a club team, or was it always national stuff?
Look, I think growing up, I remember him, following the Juventus.
Okay.
It seemed to be his go-to.
Yeah.
So growing up, I kind of naturally became a Juventus fan.
Amazing. When did you realize that sort of this artistic level of like where you are today? I don't mean that you were going to get to this level, but when did you start to feel like, you know what, I think this is where I want to spend my energy?
Yeah. Look, I could say that it was a natural talent since I'm a kid, but art is very abstract in the sense you don't really know where it could bring you, especially as a kid. And my parents, it's not that they're the most scholastic, or I grew up, so you're kind of self-taught, and my parents would always say, I think you're going to become an artist, but you don't know really what that means. Like, how do you apply that and make money or the real world? So that was very abstract until I started working the pipeline and production and becoming an animation director, creative director. So I was applying a lot of those skills, but to businesses that weren't my own, right? So like being creative, but for other people, for producers. But I always admired other artists that were independent artists. And I always wondered, how do they make a living doing this, right?
As an independent,
I was always fascinated and admired, many of my artist peers today that how did they take that leap of faith?
Yeah.
And I decided that one day I was between contracts one day. At one moment in time, I was between contracts, between gigs, and I decided to put up my own art solo show. Rented a gallery, invited all my friends and family, bought the wine, did the whole thing.
Yeah.
And that's where I kind of got the spark and said, you know what? I think I could run with these guys, and this is what I want to do.
Amazing.
I created my own style. Obviously there was an evolution. It took a little bit of time, experimenting, but I got the bug, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to be leaving the corporate world.
And the corporate world was what you were doing. And had you gone to school specifically for that?
So I went to Concordia and I studied in film animation specifically for that.
I was a
with
design
a BFA,
at Concordia.
Yeah, so a BFA in fine arts as well. And so I really wanted to become a 2D animator. So I always had the ideas of working for Walt Disney and all the, these big players like that. And, I landed some really cool gigs and did that for a good period of time. But then I got the itch to become very independent because I always had a little bit of that entrepreneurial aspect to me and also obviously the creative side. And I was like, how do I blend both and just be my own person, be my own maker and do really what I love and what I want to do.
It's not easy. But people don't realize it's not easy to play both of those things because you can be creative, but then to be an entrepreneur, which means you've got to be able to crunch the numbers and you've got to pull off a list of tasks to be able to execute.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you learn the hard way, and you send out the proposals, you make a lot of mistakes, and you just learn as you go, really. Until I think I always had in me a little bit of entrepreneurship, so that kind of helped. I was self-taught.
Where did you and why did you gravitate to a fox? So I'm sure there's a story here.
It's kind of a funny story in a way.
Well, we like those.
So I started the art career. I took that leap of faith in 2010, and that's sort of around the year where I created the fox character. And I called him Ludovico to start. It was a kind of an Italian name, and then I shortened it and I called him Ludo, just to make it simpler. And he was sort of inspired by the sartorialist, the P.T. Uomo, very fashion savvy type of character. And I could say, he's just my alter ego, or a much cooler version than me. More stylish. And, I said, what, how could I convey some messaging through a character and topics that I like to discuss and showcase. And at that period, the rise, not to be a hater or anything, there was a rise of that hipster movement, right?
The song?
No, the hipster style,
hipster.
Whole hipster kind of vibe that was going on right in the city. And
in every city, it wasn't
in every city, and everywhere. And, the fox wears his pants a little bit short. So because of the European style.
Sure. But
so the hipsters were kind of claiming that, the shortening of the pants, and they were getting shorter and shorter. That pretty much they were going to become like 3/4
Well,
pants.
that's a mod thing, by the way.
It's a
short pant.
Yes, exactly. But I played it against the hipsters, and I said, I came up with the slogan, my pants are not too short, I'm European. So I was trying to claim it back through the fox.
Amazing.
So
was that really the line?
That's really the line.
Amazing.
My pants are not too short, I'm European. So I didn't say I'm Italian, I said I'm European to keep it a little bit more generic.
And and then the screaming heart I'm bringing up as well, because I remember a mural being painted in the Sud-West, and I remember looking out my window. I remember even actually calling him, being like, "Dude, how long are you going to be working on this thing?"
That's right, I remember.
Right?
Yeah. So Screaming Heart was basically through a heartache.
Okay. Yeah.
We all have heartaches. We all have a bit of screaming hearts within us, and I thought it was I was going through a moment. I was like, "What's the best way I can convey the way I'm feeling?" And I was like, well, a screaming heart. Amazing. And then after that, I just ran with that idea, and it really became dear to me. And I was plastering it all over the place. I was doing wheat paste posters. It's basically cut out drawings on paper and kind of illegally pasting them on brick walls.
And they stay. I mean,
they stay.
This is a long time.
It's like a super glue. It's tough to remove. There's wear and tear with time. Sure. And I would put them all over Montreal. Would travel to the U.S. and put them everywhere there too.
Did you ever did it take off in a sense where people didn't know it was your, not, I don't want to say moniker, but it became really part of your artistic brand and everything you were about? Or was it more of a who was doing this and then they ended up connecting it to you?
Look, for me, it became a staple, but it was also, that's how they would recognize me. I didn't even have to sign my name anymore. Like, I didn't have to write Tava. It was just like, I recognize that Screaming Heart. And what was cool about it is that everybody had their own sentiment about it. It was very relatable, right? Because everybody has a Screaming Heart, but what does that convey for each person?
But is there one that stands out to you that you're particularly proud of, either a collaboration with this particular brand or a solo show?
They're all sort of like mini wins, When I was a kid, I was into fashion. I was into big brands. And then I always aspired, okay, maybe one day I could collaborate with Nike. And then the Nike deal happens. Oh, I love Adidas, with the soccer gear. And that happens. So, and then you get these giant murals or giant sculptures with brands that you've known for the last 30 years. And you're like, wow, you always admired. And you're like, I wonder how it is to work with these guys. And then you end up shaking hands with them. And and doing cool work with them. So it's
Yeah,
really,
that's
really, it's really hard to pinpoint. But I have to say that one show that really stuck was when Art TV was around, and they were located at Place des Arts, and it was during Arts Souterrain. I did this new initiative at the time of large cutouts on wood panels that were all hand painted. They were quite large. They were about 10 feet, 12 feet,
That's
like
big.
life size.
Yeah.
And I created a sort of a maze so the spectators could walk around. So it was not an exhibition where you could buy the work. It was just more an immersive type of experience. And we counted that night about 6,000 visitors walking in and out and just partying in this art TV space and admiring the art. So I have to say that was very overwhelming and very interactive.
Overwhelming in a good
in
sense.
a very good way. I was like, wow, people are really relating with the art, and it was really the highlight of the evening throughout the whole Arts Souterrain.
But is there something that you're disappointed never came to fruition the way you had hoped it would?
Look, I don't really think. No, but I think things will come full circle. Things will happen. I see it the way like, okay, if this project didn't happen 10 years ago, I just wasn't ready for it. Maybe I just wasn't the right guy for it. I'm not gonna be like upset about it or sad about it. I'm gonna be, you know what? We'll circle back one day when I'm ready, maybe more mature, and where the styles have evolved. And we'll get back to it. And this is happening actually more and more.
Yeah, it is. Huh?
Yeah.
Is there a moment in the football sphere of watching something with your dad, watching a Euro, watching a World Cup, that, or maybe a game that you participated in either here in North America or in Europe, that is a moment for you that was really heartbreaking and really like cringeworthy? And then we're gonna go to the positive. I always like to get the negative out of the way, but is there one particular thing that's just like, oof?
Well, for sure, the obvious is that Italy didn't qualify this year.
Okay, this year. Okay, this is
this is a tough one. Like it's too bad. I mean, it's not just this year, but the last 8 years, 12 years. It's like every 4 years it gets tougher and tougher, and I'm just sad, not because about the politics of it all, and I don't want to get into that. Yeah. It's just sad as a prideful person. It's in your DNA. It's part of the community. It brings a lot of life, a lot of joy, and the experience that I had in 2006, witnessing them winning the national, was, I can't even describe how I felt. The goosebumps, even if you're not even a soccer fan or football fan per se. It just vibrates throughout your whole body, and it would be so amazing that the next generations would get to at least experience at least the games you
think about that. That's good that you think about that.
Oh, for sure. It's important for the next generation, because that means that it's going to be 16 years that the youth have not seen Italy in a World Cup. Yes, there's the Euro for sure. But the World Cup, it's like, the whole world pauses. It's the only sport, I think, that where the whole world pauses to watch a game. And when your team is out, you'll root for another team, and you'll be like, okay, you know what? Let's go for the people that eliminated us, and hopefully they make it far. Maybe there's always other strategies.
Yeah.
But
on the flip side, is there a positive moment? Is there a specific moment? Is it the 206? Is that experience for you, or is there another one or something that you experienced when you were at a game?
I hope to experience another 206 down the line.
Is there something now that
206 was like, what an experience! You can't even describe it. It's especially as an adult and being fully immersed in the scene and in Little Italy and kind of just like jiving with everybody. That's I think the Euro, there's hope for that.
Yeah,
I would like to.
You get your
I would like to get that. I'm got my fingers crossed. I would like to see something good happen there.
Your thoughts on this intersection between art and sport, and art and football. It's obviously massive. The entire planet is on top and on board with that. But I just wanted to take, what's your take on those two things intersecting?
On the fusion of both? Well, look, I mean, they go hand in hand. For me, when I look at football, man, just look at the jerseys, look at the scarves, look at the flags, look at the branding, look at the new soccer ball, look at all the initiatives that they're doing on a branding level. It looks freaking good, and year after year, it's amazing. And how could you not appreciate all that as artistry itself? And also, for the communities and for other brands, I've applied especially Italian or other local brands that love football. I've done a lot of soccer or football branding for them, and on garments, on murals, and it just meshes so well.
Is there a brand? Is there a is there a football brand and an art brand or a fashion brand that has done a really amazing job of that sort of coming together that stands out in your mind? I know there's so many, but is there one particular project you might have seen or been involved in yourself that really?
Oh man,
really
there's so many. There's a plethora of them.
No, I know.
But I think there's cool brands that have done many cool things. I mean, I think some New York style brands. I can't really pinpoint which one, but there's always a lot of drops of fashion brands that do really fun jerseys.
Yeah, and this year as well, there's been some phenomenal. Both Adidas and Nike have done.
The Adidas line is really really nice. Yeah,
Nike too, man. Like,
you enjoyed the Adidas soccer ball?
Sorry,
the soccer ball.
What about it?
You like it?
I don't know, man. It's missing something for me, which is insane because it's beautiful. It's representing Mexico, U.S., Canada. It represents it. You've seen the football too.
Yeah, of course.
But there's something that I feel they could have done a little simpler, a little more like
go back to the roots, maybe.
Yeah, and just so that again, I'm always thinking with a World Cup as an example of a tournament. You're thinking, what is it now, and what does it mean 50 years from now?
Exactly.
So just give us a little taste of some stuff that you've done in the past that have led you to some new projects where we're going to get into.
I always had the dream of opening my own shops. And I made that happen. I opened a boxing gym a few years ago.
Cool.
I opened with my wife. She opened a cafe. They had another cafe with her sister. So I was always very intrigued by that world, and I made it happen.
Awesome.
And very successful businesses. But I have to admit that you know how it is when you run a brick and mortar.
Yeah.
You have employees, you have payrolls, you got a lot of responsibilities, you got operations, and it was a great time. I did what I had to do, but I always had. It was hard. I had that guilt of walking away from art on a full-time level. Because when you have a brick and mortar and you do art, you're kind of 50-50.
Sure.
You're trying to balance.
Mixing in. You're balancing.
Well, basically,
right.
maybe you're 100-100. You're never really clocking out. So you're kind of doing these crazy days of day and night. But I felt really guilty that I wasn't in the studio painting. Typically I would go 9 to 5 in the studio. And longer, and just paint. And that's where you really create. It's like when you really go there and you immerse yourself. And obviously having brick and mortars, you couldn't do that.
Yeah.
You're kind of very restricted, and your phone's always off the hook.
Sure.
So this year, we sold everything. Sold
Wow.
all our shares.
Okay.
Clean slate.
Wow.
And I'm back to the fundamentals, back to my roots of how I started in 2010, picking up a brush, going to the studio every day and just grinding as if I'm a young buck and just
you are a young
super,
buck. What are you talking about?
Thank you. And super hungry. I'm hungrier than ever.
Amazing.
There's
right?
a lot of things I want to create. I'm developing a lot of figurines, collectible figurines.
Very cool.
And for the World Cup this year, 2026, I've put my Ludo character in the World Cup context.
Amazing. This is breaking news.
Yeah, so I made him a cool little World Cup mascot.
Amazing.
And it will be a very limited edition, probably be a 12-inch figurine, and it'll be available very soon.
Amazing.
I'll be announcing it on my social.
And what are your socials and your website?
My social is at Antoine Tava.
Okay.
At Antoine Tava, and my website's antoinetava.com.
Amazing. So it'll be able to.
It'll be available.
It'll be sometime soon because the World Cup's kicking off next week, man.
Very soon. It's in the making.
Next week.
Yeah, it's so soon.
Exciting. Welcome back here to the first half. We're doing 12 questions here on TSN with Tava. And I had a bit of a laugh there because he said, I got to answer fast. You're fast. It's on live radio, even though we use it later on our YouTube and stuff like that. All right, so question 1. You ready for go?
Mm-hmm.
What is your favorite film?
The Godfather.
Number 2, what is your favorite song or band?
I'm into System of a Down these days.
Number 3, favorite sports team?
Italy, the national.
Number 4, favorite athlete, dead or alive?
I always enjoyed Buffon.
Oh, nice. Number 5, what is your favorite food?
Pasta.
Number 6, what is your favorite drink, alcoholic and non-alcoholic?
Water. That's my drink of choice.
All the way through. I love
Yes.
it. Number 7, what would be one thing you would buy if you won the lottery?
I'd buy my dad a 911 Porsche.
Nice. Number 8, dream trip.
Move to Italy.
Oh, yeah? Straight up. That's
Straight
a
up.
big smile. That's a big
Straight
smile.
up.
Number 9, how do you deal with stress?
I meditate.
Very cool. A little after hours question here. What up, Tava? Pajamas or no pajamas?
Pajamas.
There's no wrong answer to that one.
Pajama guy.
It's all right. It's all right. Number 11.
They're fancy too.
Fancy pajamas.
Yeah.
All
My
right,
wife hooks me up with the nice
the
fancy
nicest
pajamas.
fancy pajamas. I love it. What is your favorite fashion brand at the moment?
Look, black t-shirt, black pants.
It's all good. Name one thing you cannot live without.
Pasta.
Amazing. You're supposed to say family, bro. Your wife's going to lose it.
Of course.
No,
family.
I know it's a joke.
Family's
It's a joke.
number one.
No, the answer was pasta.
I was sarcastic too.
No, okay. And our little sneaky one. So a 12.1. One word to describe football. So football is?
Love.
Beautiful. That was 12 questions here on the first half on TSN 690 with Tava, artist, entrepreneur, good guy, and Azuri lover. Once again, thank you for joining us here on the show. We wish you much, much luck.